Welcome to yet another episode, episode 10. You're laughing. Who would have believed, huh?
Is it 10? I don't know.
Episode 10 of our Sundays with Giovanni series. And this is a really hot day, so if you see us perspiring, we need to go back to the jeu to cool down. But we are continuing our little mini-series on the spirits of the 5 elements, and we've had quite a lot of interest in this, and people want us to complete them. And we have to finish and do the yi and the po. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. So, over to you. Yi first.
So, the yi of the spleen is one of the 5 spirits, and the spleen pertains to earth. And the yi also has the character for heart at the bottom.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
And basically the memory of the spleen, the characteristic of the yi of the spleen is it helps, it's very much coordinated with the shen of the heart. It's like a sub-aspect of the shen of the heart, responsible for cognition, primarily cognition and memory. The interesting thing is that the spleen and the stomach are the origin of postnatal qi. They produce qi and blood postnatally. And it's interesting that the yi of the spleen depends on the postnatal qi and blood, whereas the jeu that we just talked about of the kidneys depends on the prenatal qi. So it's more kind of fundamental, more important for our constitution, the jeu of the kidneys, which also controls memory, by the way.
The jeu of the kidneys.
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, jeu, by the way, I said it could be translated as willpower. It could also be translated as memory as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's the memory because it goes into the brain.
It goes to the brain, yes. The yi of the spleen is basically responsible for memory and cognition, which depends very much on the postnatal qi and blood.
So let me just clarify this then. The prenatal is, we get that from our family, our parents and the ancestors.
Yes.
So that's really important, that they have a good, that's our constitution.
Constitution.
And then the postnatal we get from being nourished well and having good healthy digestion.
Yes, from the air and the food.
From the air and food, yes. So that's
daily,
important.
the qi and blood, the postnatal qi and blood are produced daily.
So that we can do for ourselves.
We can do for ourselves, exactly. Exactly. Well, we can also influence our constitution, but it's much more difficult.
And how? I'm sure people would be dying to know.
Also with that, exercise very much.
Qigong.
Very much. Qigong exercises.
Especially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Meditation.
balance. Dr. Shen always talked about balance, not overworking.
A balanced life.
One of the worst things for our constitution that we can do is overwork.
So we can use up our, if we come in even with strong constitution, we can consume it.
You can, definitely, very much so. You can deplete it.
And how many of us overwork in this modern day? Huh?
Very many people do, through overwork. In the case of men, also through excessive sexual activity. And also that, for example, too much alcohol as well.
That can deplete.
That can also deplete our constitution. And it's much more difficult to build up our prenatal qi, but not impossible, than it is to build up our postnatal qi, and which depends on the spleen and stomach.
So postnatal qi is all about good, strong, healthy digestion?
Diet, basically, good
and
diet.
Balanced food.
And balanced food,
meals.
yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's the
and to tonify postnatal qi is very simple. Stomach 36, and spleen 6, and REN 12, something like that.
12.
Very easy, very simple.
Easy. But in this day and age, you know, there are so many people now with digestive disorders,
of course,
damaged by GMOs, etc.
Of course.
Commercial food. So it's not so easy these days.
No. Well, yes, you're right. Yes, it's not so easy, but anyone can. It's not difficult to change your diet.
That's true. You can. So these are things you can do
for which you need the you need that drive to do it.
You need the drive. If you don't have the drive, you're not going to take care of your lifestyle.
But it's not difficult to change your diet.
No, if you have the drive. I think that's key, and that's why there are so many holistic health coaches trying to help people stay on their diet, stay focused, because a lot of people don't have that jeu and that drive.
But Dr. Shen always emphasized a lot, not only what you eat, but how you eat. Eating in a hurry, eating standing up, eating during a business, discussing business while you eat. All these things have a very profound influence on the Qi and blood, the postnatal Qi and blood.
And so this Dr. Shen was very wise. And Dr. Shen, this is the Dr. Shen who was in New York.
Yes. He's a Chinese doctor from Shanghai who lived in the United States the last 20, 25 years of his life. He lived in New York, and I was lucky enough to study with him and learned a lot from him. He was the best in pulse reading, for example.
Yes, yes. And he was very down to earth. He gave great advice, which was very simple, easy to follow.
He always tried to, and he succeeded. I don't always succeed in finding the cause of the disease. He said, "There's no point in telling people you've got spleen Qi deficiency. It doesn't mean anything."
No.
He used to tell people, "Well, you've got this problem because you eat too fast," something like that, or "You have this problem because you worry too much," something like that.
Yeah. So it was very practical, where people could learn what they can do to help themselves.
Yes, exactly, yes. He always tried to find the cause of the disease.
I remember a great example, and you might remember it, where somebody was getting all kinds of feet pains and burning and tingling and numbness up their legs, and he tracked it down to this person who used to walk on the beach on hot sand every day. Do you remember that example?
Yes, yes.
As soon as they stopped that, and they'd gone to all kinds of doctors, they go to him.
He used to take the pulse and then close his eyes and lean back, and then he'd say, "Your problem is because you always like to walk on the beach with us."
So very practical, and the importance of diet and eating more slowly and relaxing when you eat, which is what they're teaching nowadays in modern functional medicine, and naturopaths teach it. And this is, he's got this from his Chinese.
Yeah, unfortunately he's dead now, but he died about 4 or 5 years ago. So, going back to the Yi, is the spirit of the spleen, depending on the postnatal Qi and blood, and responsible for cognition and memory, very much.
And a different memory from the Je memory.
Yeah, you could make differences, yes, but as I said, heart, spleen and kidneys, there's an overlap.
Yes.
All three of them influence memory.
And you've done favorite points and favorite...
The points for the Yi of the spleen would be stomach and spleen points. Stomach 36, spleen 6, Ren 12, and bladder 20 and 21 in the back.
Bladder 20 and 21.
Stomach and spleen in the back.
And favorite formulas?
Formulas? No. I need formula that tonifies Qi and blood.
Okay, so I know when I was a student and we were working, studying for our exams, for example, back in the early 80s, and we knew that we had to get our Yi really strong so that we could remember our...
Yes.
That was the Yi.
That's the Yi, very much. The mental energy, cognition that you need for studying, that's very much the Yi of the spleen.
So then that
compared to the Je of the kidneys,
yes,
is the Yi of the spleen that's responsible for that.
So that means then eating regularly, balanced meals, good food, which is what you don't do when you're a student.
Yes. Yeah.
So it would be like tonify, spleen, stomach formulas, herbal formulas that you could keep sipping as you're doing.
And there is a point in the back, by the way, that there is Yi She, the shelter of the Yi in the back, level with bladder 20. Okay. There are 5 points in the back. Their names reflect Shen, Po, Yi, Hun, and Je.
The spirits of the...
And the one for the Yi is 49, is level with bladder 20.
Yes. So that would be a very good...
Yi She, yeah.
So what about, if we talk about the emotions or habits of the spleen, the earth element, and its over-worry, obsessing, extreme.
Obsessing, yes.
So would you say those are...
It's the pathological equivalent of concentrating and studying, it's the pathology, the pathological equivalent of that. Concentrating to the point of obsession or...
Yeah. So then, would that be OCD?
Yes, similar to OCD, for which, by the way, for that kind of situation, I would use bladder 49.
Bladder 49.
A lot, the one that I just mentioned.
which is on the outer bladder line.
On the outer bladder line.
So when people are ruminating too much, worrying too much, thinking the same things over and over again, that could be an over-concentration of
the yi of the spleen.
Yeah.
Which is different than the over-concentration of the lungs. That's more worrying.
Okay, so one is more obsessive, so it's overthinking, and then lungs, which we're going to go to, which will be
more worrying.
Do you ever use, I'm sure you're going to say of course, but in terms of the hun, getting that moving more to help the yi stop getting so stuck, you don't go there?
No. I would just treat the yi and the shen, of course. As I said, I always treat the shen, because the shen is always involved in any mental emotional problem, because it is the leader, the monarch, or the emperor of the other five, of the other four.
So, okay, and the fact that the yi has the heart in it.
Yes.
The heart symbol tells us that it's important.
Yes.
Okay, any other little tips around the yi?
And the tips around the yi? No.
I tell you what I'm curious about as we're talking about this is, in the early days when I learned the 5 elements, I always thought that they all had equal importance. But the more I'm having these conversations, they don't, do they?
They don't.
Not at all.
Not at all, and very different. Hun and Po are different, because they are a gui.
Yes, they are the gui family.
Yeah, they have their own independent existence from the other 3.
So then let's move on to Po, which is connected with Hun because of the gui.
The gui, yes. Both Hun and gui word contain the card for gui, which is the spirit, basically. The spirit of a dead person. And the Hun is, I call it ethereal soul, because it's young, and it survives the body. It goes to heaven, Tian. Nothing to do with the Christian heaven, and nothing to do with reincarnation either. No. They just thought that the Hun survives death, and that's why the emperor, the Qingshi Huangshi emperor, had the terracotta army built there to protect him in the afterlife. And rich ladies might have their makeup set in the tomb, which they might need after death. So it was that, and that was the idea. The Po, it belongs to earth. So the Hun belongs to heaven and is young and survives death. The Po belongs to earth. It is yin, and it does not survive death. It dies with the body. And for some reason, the Po is closely connected to the bones. And that's why I think I said that last time. In traditional Chinese customs, after some number of years, they open the tomb and they carefully clean all the bones.
Polish the bones. I'd never heard of that.
Yes.
I was brought up in Hong Kong. So And why is it connected with the bones? Because we would. They
don't say why. Well, there is one. As I said, both Hun and Po, the theme of Hun and Po is always movement. And the Po is kind of a movement that related to the Shen. Sorry, the Hun. The Po is the entering and exiting of Jing. The Hun is the entering and exiting of Shen. The Po is the entering and exiting of Jing. So there is a connection between Po and Jing. And there would be a very interesting theory, which is my own theory, it's not the Chinese theory, about the connection between your constitution, allergic constitution, and eczema. And it's because the Po resides in the lungs, and the Po controls the skin.
Yes.
So there is an interesting connection between inherited diseases, which manifest on the skin through the Po.
So there's like a miasm in.
Yeah, and that's because of the connection between the Po and the Jing.
Now, who else knows about Po and Jing being connected? I didn't.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. But the Po is the entering and exiting of Jing.
Yeah.
That's how it's described. I call it corporeal soul because it is the somatic expression of our mental emotional life. So let's say you have liver cheese stagnation, and which causes some depression, maybe a slight depression, because when cheese stagnates, the Hun doesn't move. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you might have hypochondrial distension. That's the Po.
That's the Po?
That's the Po, yes. any physical symptom
Yeah.
is connected to the Po.
Whatever it is.
Whatever
so
it
you've got
is.
heart pain or
Yes.
back pain,
yes.
it's still Po.
It's the Po, because the Po is the corporeal soul, the animal soul.
So just a quick aside, so there's such a massive epidemic right now with the opioids, and they're doing great research with acupuncture and pain.
Mm-hmm.
Should you routinely treat the Po?
Yes.
Yes? Now, who knows?
Lung 7, nothing else.
Lung 7.
Nothing else.
Lung 7. When there's pain.
Well, in addition to other things,
Yes,
of course.
yes.
Because in pain, there are many different
Yes.
causes of pain.
But you include
In
lung 7.
addition, always
That's
lung
amazing.
7.
Mm-hmm.
There's another interesting connection with babies. Zhang Jingyue said that in the first 3 months of life, the baby is all Po. There is no Shen or Yi or Zhe or Hun. Well, the Hun is there, but the baby's life is dominated by Po. It's all, but that's why babies are always regurgitating or belching. Or their whole life relies on the Po.
So Po is instant. As soon as they're born, it's Po rules.
Yes, in theory. No, the Po is from conception.
From conception.
Interestingly.
Okay.
The Po is there from conception.
Yeah.
The Hun is not.
Okay.
In theory, the Hun enters the body 3 days after birth. But we don't have to take that literally, of course. If it's 4 days or 5 days.
Yeah, but I wonder where they got that from. Did they watch a certain spirit?
Yeah. I wonder where they got it from, yes.
Fascinating.
And Zhang Jingyue said that in the first 3 months of life, the baby's life was all Po. The baby's all Po. Interestingly, the Po of the mother nourishes the Po of the baby.
So is that like the immune system, the colostrum, all of that helps the baby?
Helps the baby. And it comes from the Po of the mother, which is interesting. We always talk about the mother's kidneys, right?
Yes.
Being affected by pregnancy, childbirth, and nourishing the fetus, which is true, but the Po also does. So with the breastfeeding, the baby is not just getting the nourishment of milk, but he's getting the Po from the mother. The Po of the baby is nourished by the Po of the mother.
So would this be the Wei Qi as well?
Wei Qi? No, why Wei Qi?
Well, I'm just thinking, we talk about, in modern terms, the baby, the immune system of the mother protects the baby.
Yes, from that point of view, yes.
So
yes.
that would be physical, somatic.
Yes. Yeah. And by the way, acupuncture works on Po first and foremost, first on Po. And through Po, it will work through to the Shen, the Yi, the Zhe, the Hun, everything else.
So.
But the skin also is a manifestation of the Po.
So the more embodied somebody is, the stronger their Po is, basically. If they're more ethereal, their Hun is ruling them. But if they're really strong, they've got good strong Po.
Yes.
And that's very different from saying somebody's got good, strong Shen, which is the
very different. Yeah, very different.
So if somebody to walk in the room, how would you know that their Po is strong?
From the way they walk, their tone of the muscles, the tone of the voice as well.
So everything's stronger and more solid.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
The strength of the handshake, many different things.
And that's all Po?
Also, yes.
Because I would think it might be Hun, but actually
No.
no.
The Hun is ethereal, it's not...
it's not Hun Po at all.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So anything else on the...
Well, we're talking about strong pose, so...
the Po resides in the lungs, of course, we didn't say that.
Yeah.
And it's affected by, any lung point will affect the Po. I especially use lung 7 a lot to move Qi, to treat the Po, to treat pain, also for depression, in addition to other points.
So depression from Po, I mean, I'm touching
No,
lung
I
7.
use it because of the movement of qi, of lung 7. We always attribute movement of qi to the liver, which is true.
Yeah.
But the lungs also has it. Lung qi also moves, or should move.
Yeah.
And which points I use? Lung 7. Lung 3 is also a great point,
Lung 3.
especially for mental emotional problems.
Mm-hmm.
And bladder 13,
Mm-hmm.
which is called Po Hu, the window of Po.
Window of Po.
There's not an interesting meaning to those points, with point names. And Do 12, which is level with bladder 13.
So on the back, on the spine. Do you use any Ren points
For the Po,
for the Po? Like
no.
Ren 17?
You can, yes, you can use Ren 17. There's an interesting observation of the Hun and Po, the points in the back. The ones for Po is called Po Hu, the window of Po.
Mm-hmm.
The one for the Hun is called Hun Man, the door of Hun.
Mm-hmm.
So those 5 points are like the image of a house. There is a room, Jusha is a room, Shen Tang, Tang is a hole for the Shen, shelter for the Yi. But the Hun and Po are windows and doors. Why is that? Because they move. They have to move in and out. The Hun moves on an ethereal level, the coming and going of the Shen. And the Po is the entering and exit of Jing. So they go in and out through the window and the door. And the rest, the other 3 points are a structure of a house.
And these are the points on the back.
On the
key,
back,
the key
the outer
points
bladder, the outer bladder line.
that work with the spirits of the 5 elements, which is what we're talking about. So, are there reasons that the ancients talk about for Po being weak, like any specific? Like we know for Je,
Yeah, not really. They don't really talk about Po being weak or strong. It just is.
it just is,
Yes.
and it just flows,
Yes.
and you either have it or you don't.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Well, everyone has it because
Yes.
it's the animal soul, the corporeal soul.
Yes, but you have it weak.
But there's no such pathology as being weak or strong, like the Hun or like the Je.
Yes, or like the Je keeping the Shen in balance.
By the way, I forgot to say about the Je. We talked about what happens when the Je is weak, but the Je can also be too strong, and you're what's the word? You are a bit stubborn.
Okay,
Yeah.
but maybe too rigid.
Too rigid and stubborn, and
would you also be fanatic because you're so driven?
possibly, yes,
So-
yes, yeah. That's a good point. Yes.
I mean, what about, for example, when people join ISIS because they are?
Yeah.
Would that be Je that's too strong
yes.
without the Shen
Yes. Yes.
keeping them in balance?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other stories?
No,
or-
no. No.
Great. So what we've done is we've covered the 5 spirits of the 5 elements. We want to make sure that they're all flowing and in harmony with each other. We covered the Shen. We've covered the Hun. We've kind of gone backwards. We've covered the Je of the kidneys, so the Shen of the heart, and they are the